Now, baby, sit yourself down for this one. And if you've got a cup nearby, pour something steady in it, because what I'm about to tell you ain't no bedtime story. It's a lesson wrapped up in somebody else's tears. See, life's taught me this. Love will make a woman blind, but potential will keep her that way. I done seen more women lose themselves trying to turn a man's almost into an empire. And that's exactly what happened to a sweet young thing I once knew named Tasha. Tasha was 27, smart, steady, and sensible. Worked downtown as an accountant, sharp with numbers, sharper with her heels. Always on time, bills always paid, heart still open, but cautious. She wasn't desperate for love, just ready for it. Ready for a man who could stand next to her, not behind her. And then one spring evening, life went and introduced her to Marcus. They met at one of those little business mixers the city liked to throw. Folks in suits pretending they already had their life together. There was free wine, soft jazz, and talk of ventures and branding in every corner. Tasha had come with a coworker, not looking for anything but a reason to wear that navy dress she loved. But fate, baby, has a funny way of showing up when your guard is halfway down. Marcus spotted her from across the room. Tall, clean cut, smiled like he already knew her. The kind of man who could charm the truth right out of a preacher. He walked over, smooth as Sunday syrup, and said, "You look like the kind of woman who belongs at the head of a boardroom." That made her laugh. That low, surprised kind of laugh that comes out when you ain't used to being noticed that way. She told him she was just trying to make it to payday. Marcus grinned and said something about how soon he'd be the one signing checks, not waiting on them. That's how he talked. Big, bright, and full of someday. Said he run a small media company once, but had stepped away to focus on bigger ideas. He was in between ventures, he said, but something big was right around the corner. And baby, the way he said it, you couldn't help but believe him. Tasha said later that night, he made me feel like I was part of something greater, like I was investing in our future. But what she didn't realize yet was that love ain't an investment. It's a partnership. And a partnership only works when both parties bring equal weight to the table. Still, they fell quick. Within weeks, they were inseparable. Marcus made her laugh until she forgot what day it was. He cooked on Sundays, left sticky notes on her mirror saying things like, "You're the reason I hustle." He'd talk about dreams late into the night, real estate, podcasts, clothing lines. He said he just needed one good break. Tasha believed him. She told me once, Marie, I just wanted to be the woman who stood beside him while he became who he was meant to be. And I told her, that's noble, baby, but you better make sure he's standing, not sitting on your shoulders. A few months later, Marcus started spending more time at her apartment. First, it was a toothbrush, then a drawer, then half the closet. Before long, his mail started coming there, and Tasha was buying groceries for two without even thinking about it. At first, it felt right. They'd sit up late, watching movies and eating Chinese takeout, talking about how they were going to build a future together. Marcus would say things like, "I can see us running our own company one day, babe. You handle the numbers, I handle the vision." And Tasha would smile, thinking maybe this was it, the love she'd been patient for. But see, that's where the line between support and subsidy starts to blur. One evening, she was working on some freelance taxes at the kitchen table when Marcus leaned back in his chair and started talking about a cafe he found on 8th Street. Said it had a little empty space in the back he could turn into a creative hub for entrepreneurs. His voice all lit up like Christmas. When she asked how much it would cost, he said maybe 10 or 15 grand, but brushed it off like that was pocket change. All he needed was one person to believe in him. Tasha, trying to be supportive but sensible, suggested maybe he start smaller. Marcus just shook his head and told her, "Baby, I don't think small." Now that might sound romantic in the movies, but in real life, baby, that's code for I don't plan. Now let me tell you what's wrong with that picture. You see, we women, we love to nurture. It's in us. We think if we pour enough love, enough faith, enough patience into a man, he'll bloom into who he could be. But what we forget is this. If the soil's not ready, all that water just turns to mud. Tasha couldn't see that yet. She was too busy rooting for his rise. She told herself it was just temporary, that he was in his building season. But baby, some men been building for 10 years and still ain't laid the first brick. A few months in, it was clear who carried the weight. Tasha's paycheck kept the lights on, the fridge stocked, and the rent paid. Marcus always had a new idea, a new plan, but never a steady check. Still, he loved to talk about how they were on their way, and Tasha, bless her heart, believed that they meant both of them. I'll never forget what she told me one afternoon. Ruby, I feel like I'm financing a dream I don't even get to live in yet. And I looked her square in the eye and said, that's because you are, baby. You the investor, not the partner. Now listen close, baby, because this is the part most folks skip. Never fall for potential that comes without proof. Never trade stability for stories, because when love turns into charity, resentment's just waiting on the porch. Tasha didn't know it yet, but she just signed up for the hardest course life could offer, advanced lessons in carrying a financial child, and that tuition, it always comes due. Now, after Marcus moved his life into hers, the apartment changed. There were sneakers by the door now, hoodies draped over chairs, and his cologne hanging in the air long after he'd left the room. Tasha said it felt like home, like she finally had her person. Every morning he'd kiss her forehead before she left for work, told her she was his motivation. Every evening he'd be there with that easy smile, asking her about her day like she was the only woman in the world. And baby, when somebody looks at you like you're the answer to their prayers, it's easy to forget you're starting to carry all the weight of their faith. At first, it was beautiful. He'd cook sometimes, fried salmon, garlic potatoes, those little fancy salads he saw online. He'd rub her feet while they talked about their future. He told her, I just need some time, babe. I'm close to something big. Tasha believed him. She didn't just love him, she believed for him. Now don't get me wrong, she wasn't naive. She saw the red flags flapping in the distance, but she told herself every man's got to start somewhere. When the bills came, she'd pay them and tell herself it was just temporary. When he said, I'll handle it next month, she'd smile and say, okay, baby. That was her love language, patience. But patience don't fix procrastination. See, Marcus was what I like to call a financial child. Oh, he had grown man charm, grown man voice, even grown man dreams. But inside, he still thought like a boy who wanted someone else to cover the consequences. He'd get a little money from odd jobs, and instead of paying down what he owed, he'd celebrate. Took her to dinner once after he sold a few designs online, said they needed to treat themselves for the grind. Never mind that rent was due the next week. Tasha told me later, he made poverty look poetic, Ruby, like struggle was some kind of spiritual badge. And baby, don't that sound familiar? Folks love to romanticize hardship when they ain't the ones bearing the real cost. Still, for a while, she was happy. They laughed, they danced, they took walks in the park talking about the house they'd buy one day. And that's the thing about love. It can make dysfunction feel like devotion if you stay too long in the glow. One Friday evening after work, she came home exhausted. The living room smelled like incense and takeout. Marcus was on the couch with his laptop open, music humming low. He grinned when she walked in, told her he was working on a new business proposal. Said he was going to flip something real big and that this time it was all going to pay off. She asked how close he was. He smiled and said, almost there, babe. Just need a little more to invest, maybe a few hundred to lock it in. Now, Tasha, being who she was, didn't even hesitate. She transferred the money that night, told herself it was support, not sacrifice. But the truth is, every time you fund somebody's potential without accountability, you're really just making down payments on your own disappointment. The months rolled by. Marcus had a new project every few weeks. One month it was music, the next it was crypto, then a podcast he swore would go viral. Every idea started with excitement and ended with excuses. But every time one failed, he'd pull Tasha close and whisper, you're the only one who believes in me. I won't let you down. And every time she'd hold him and say, I know, baby. See how that works? He gave her hope and she gave him help. Hope without help is inspiration. Help without hope is servitude. By the end of that year, Tasha's savings had thinned. Her friends started asking if Marcus was ever going to get steady work. Her mama, bless her wisdom, sighed and said, baby, don't confuse struggle with loyalty. A man who loves you should make your life lighter, not heavier. Tasha brushed it off. She told herself they just didn't understand him, that they didn't see what she saw, his vision, his heart, his potential. But love ain't supposed to be a rescue mission, baby. It's supposed to be a reunion, two whole people meeting each other halfway. Now, I don't want you to think Tasha was a fool. She wasn't. She was just a woman who believed that love could grow a man faster than life could teach him what hunger was supposed to teach him. Tasha didn't know it yet, but her glow was starting to dim. The bills was stacking, the patience was thinning, and the man she'd carried in love was about to become the weight that broke her peace. And baby, that's where the real story begins. Now, baby, let me tell you something. When love first starts slipping, it don't fall all at once. It unravels slow. A late payment here or half-truth there, and before you know it, you're sitting across from somebody you barely recognize, wondering when they stop trying. That's where Tasha found herself. What used to be laughter and late-night plans turned into tension and quiet sighs over the kitchen table. The bills started coming faster than Marcus's promises. She'd ask about rent and he'd say, "Don't worry, babe, I got it." But "I got it" turned into "I'm working on it," and then into silence. Tasha started noticing things, small things that said big truths. His phone buzzing with messages about opportunities, packages showing up at the door, things she hadn't approved, things they didn't need. When she'd ask, he'd tell her it was business related, said he was investing. One night, Tasha came home from work with her shoulders heavy and her heart heavier. There was a letter sitting on the counter, a credit card statement with her name on it. But the balance, it made her blink twice. When she looked closer, she saw charges she didn't recognize. Electronics, furniture, even a plane ticket. She called Marcus into the room, and when she asked, he said it was all for the business. He looked her right in the eye and said, "I just needed a little help getting things started. I was going to pay it off once the deal came through." Tasha said her heart sank. She wasn't just mad about the money, she was mad about the trust. She'd built her life on responsibility, on discipline, on doing right even when it hurt. And here was the man she loved, playing fast and loose with everything she'd worked for. She told me later, "Ruby, I felt like the parent who found out her kid stole the rent money." And I told her, "That's 'cause you did, baby. You married a financial child." Marcus got defensive, of course. He said she didn't believe in him, said she was counting pennies while he was trying to build empires, told her she was crushing his spirit with all her negativity. Tasha tried to talk sense into him, tried to set up a budget, even offered to help him track expenses. But every time she brought up accountability, Marcus called it control, said she was acting like his mama. And right there, baby, was the truest thing he ever said, because that's exactly what she'd become. Now pause right there, sugar, because this is the lesson part. You can't partner with a person who still thinks like a child about money. Money, at its core, is energy. It shows where a person's priorities live. And when someone spends without thought, borrows without plan, and lies without guilt, that's not just a financial problem. That's an emotional one. A financially immature person ain't just bad with dollars. They're bad with discipline. And a relationship without discipline turns into chaos, dressed like passion. Tasha thought she was helping him build, but what she was really doing was protecting him from his own consequences. And baby, when you keep protecting someone from their lessons, you become the reason they never grow up. The silence between them got louder. Marcus started staying out later, saying he was meeting investors. Tasha stopped asking questions because she already knew she wouldn't like the answers. At night, she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how love could feel so heavy. The same man who once made her laugh now made her tired. The same dreams that once inspired her now scared her. And that's the cruel trick of an unbalanced love. It don't break clean. It erodes you piece by piece until you start doubting your own sense. One evening, she told him she couldn't live like that anymore, told him she needed honesty, needed a plan. Marcus sighed and said she was too focused on money, that she didn't understand what it meant to dream big. He said, "You're just scared of taking risks, Tosh." She looked at him, eyes full of tears, and said, "No, baby, I'm scared of losing myself trying to fix you." Now that right there, baby, that was the first moment she started waking up. Let me tell you something, sweetheart. Financial immaturity is just emotional immaturity wearing a nice jacket. If a person can't handle their responsibilities, they can't handle your heart either. You can't build a steady life with someone who treats money like a magic trick. Poof, gone, and it's somehow your fault. Love should make you safe, not sorry. Partnership should feel like peace, not probation. When Tasha realized she was the one doing all the carrying, all the fixing, all the forgiving, she started seeing the truth for what it was. Marcus wasn't her partner. He was her project. And baby, the hardest truth a woman can learn is this. You can't raise a man who enjoys the comfort of being carried. Tasha didn't leave that night, not yet. but something in her spirit shifted. And once a woman's spirit starts waking up, the relationship's countdown has already begun. Now, baby, trust is a fragile thing. You don't hear it break. You feel it. It's that quiet drop in your stomach when you realize somebody you loved done lied again. Not about something big this time, but big enough to tell you they still ain't changed. After that credit card mess, Tasha tried to move forward. She told herself maybe he just made a mistake. That's what love does. It negotiates the truth so it don't hurt so bad. She gave him another chance, set up a joint budget, even printed out spreadsheets, bless her organized little heart. Said they'd work together, Team Us, she called it. Marcus smiled, kissed her forehead, told her he was grateful, and for a few weeks it even looked like progress. He picked up some freelance work, helped around the house, started talking about opening a savings account. Tasha began to breathe again, thought maybe, just maybe, the worst was behind them. But baby, peace built on denial don't last long. One afternoon, her cousin Kiara came by for coffee. Sweet girl, but she looked nervous. Said she needed to tell Tasha something, but didn't know how. Turns out Marcus had borrowed money from her, $800, said it was for a short-term investment. Told her not to mention it to Tasha because he didn't want to stress her. Now, I don't know about you, but anytime a grown man asks your family for money behind your back, that's not a loan. That's deception wearing cologne. Tasha just sat there holding her mug, feeling the heat on her hands while her heart went cold. She said, he looked me in the eyes and told me we were in this together. When Marcus came home that evening, she waited. Didn't yell, didn't cry, just asked him if there was anything he needed to tell her. He played dumb, said no, acted hurt she even asked. But when she mentioned Kiara's name, his whole face changed. He tried to spin it, said it was just temporary, said he didn't want to burden her. And baby, that's when she realized the burden wasn't a debt. It was him. Now let me stop right here, baby, because this is a classroom moment. Deception don't always come with loud lies. Sometimes it comes dressed up in half-truths and soft voices. And the ones who lie best are the ones who convince themselves they're doing it for your good. Marcus wasn't evil, he was avoidant. And avoidance is the quiet cousin of irresponsibility. He didn't want to face her disappointment, so he hid behind secrecy. But let me tell you something. Any love that requires you to hide is already in the dark. Tasha forgave him again because that's what hearts like hers do. She wanted peace more than she wanted pride. But forgiveness without accountability, baby, is just resetting the same pain. They tried therapy after that. Tasha begged him to go. First couple sessions, he showed up, said all the right things, played the part, told the therapist he wanted to communicate better, to step up. But as soon as the sessions got real, he stopped going. Said it was too expensive. Said they didn't need someone telling them what to do. Tasha went alone after that. Sat in that small office, crying, talking about how she didn't know how to help him without losing herself. The therapist told her the truth she wasn't ready to hear. You can't heal a man who won't admit he's hurt. That line stuck to her ribs for months. Meanwhile, Marcus got more defensive. Anytime she brought up bills or accountability, he twisted, said she was cold, said she made him feel like a failure. He started pulling away, not just emotionally, but physically too. He was there, but not really, present in body, absent in effort. Tasha said it felt like living with a ghost who still left dishes in the sink. One night she sat in their car outside the grocery store. Her eyes burned from tears she hadn't cried yet. She looked over at him, sitting in the driver's seat, scrolling through his phone, and thought, this is what it feels like to love someone who won't grow. It wasn't anger anymore. It was grief. That's the part folks don't talk about. You don't just lose love. You grieve it like a death that keeps on breathing. Now, baby, hear me on this. A sorry man is easy to find. A changed man, that's rare. And if you keep mistaking apologies for effort, you're going to stay stuck in the same circle. Cry, forgive, repeat. Forgiveness is holy, yes, but forgiveness without boundaries, that's just permission for repeat behavior. Marcus didn't change because he never had to. Every time life tried to hand him a consequence, Tasha caught it. And the thing about saving someone from their lessons is eventually they start thinking they don't need to learn nothing. Tasha was starting to understand that. The glow was gone. The laughter faded. All that was left was the truth. She was carrying a man who refused to stand. And baby, when you spend too long dragging dead weight, even your own legs start forgetting how to walk free. Now, baby, every story of endurance got a chapter where the heart just can't lift no more. You keep telling yourself you can handle it, that you'll pray through it, talk through it, love through it. But sometimes the weight gets so heavy, your spirit starts whispering, let me go. That's where Tasha was living. Months had rolled by since the last storm. She was working extra hours, trying to patch holes faster than Marcus can make them. Rent, credit card payments, groceries, all coming from cuss side now. Every time she looked at her bank statement, she saw his dreams spelled out in overdraft fees. She told herself it was just a rough season, that he'd find his footing soon. But baby, rough seasons don't last a whole calendar year. One morning, Tasha woke up to an email from her job, a warning notice. She'd been late 3 times that month, missing deadlines, losing focus. The stress was starting to spill over. The woman who used to balance spreadsheets in her sleep now couldn't even balance her emotions. That night, she came home drained. The lights were dim, the sink was full, and Marcus was on the couch playing video games, talking about how he needed a break from the grind. Tasha just stood there, bag still on her shoulder, watching him laugh at that screen. She said softly, Marcus, we're behind on bills again. He didn't look up, just said, I told you, baby, I got a plan. That was it. That was the sentence that broke her. All the months of patience, all that stretching herself thin, it cracked right there. She didn't yell, she didn't curse. She just sat down on the edge of the couch and said, Marcus, I can't keep doing this. I'm drowning. He paused his game, finally looked at her. You always so dramatic, he said. You act like I ain't trying. I just need time. She looked him dead in the eyes and said, you had time. I've given you everything but my blood, and you still won't meet me halfway. Marcus sighed, leaned back like she was irritating him. You don't understand what it's like to chase something bigger than yourself. She whispered, I do, Marcus. I've been chasing peace this whole time. Then she stood up, walked into the bathroom, shut the door, and cried until she couldn't see straight. She said later, Ruby, it felt like I was mourning somebody who was still alive. That's how you know a relationship's over, baby, when grief moves in before goodbye does. Weeks later, her job finally let her go. Said her performance wasn't the same. Truth was, she'd been too tired trying to hold up 2 lives with one spine. When she told Marcus, he barely reacted. Said, it's okay, babe. Maybe this is your sign to help me full time. Now, baby, that's when her silence turned holy. 'Cause the kind of silence that comes right before a woman leaves, that's the sound of her soul unclenching. Now listen close, sugar. Sometimes God'll let your comfort collapse so you can finally see the truth you keep ignoring. He'll let you go broke, not to punish you, but to break the illusion that you can save somebody who refuses to grow. Tasha's pain was holy pain. It was revelation pain. She wasn't losing her mind. She was losing her denial. And baby, that's progress dressed like heartbreak. See, we women got this habit of thinking if we just hold on longer, pray harder, love deeper, we can fix it. But love can't heal what accountability won't touch. You can't carry a man's consequences on your back and still call that partnership. That's not love. That's labor. Tasha stopped talking much after that. She went quiet, the kind of quiet that don't come from peace, but from exhaustion. One night, Marcus came home late, smelling like excuses. She didn't even ask. She was sitting at the kitchen table, stacking unpaid bills in a neat little pile. He started his usual speech. You don't believe in me anymore, do you? She said softly, Marcus, I believe in you more than you believe in yourself. That's the problem. He tried to hug her, but she stepped back, not out of anger, out of emptiness. You can't pour into somebody when your cup's cracked. That was the night she made her decision. She didn't announce it, didn't pack right away, but her heart had already walked out that door. Now, baby, let me give it to you plain. You can love somebody and still realize they're bad for your peace. You can pray for them, hope for them, even forgive them, but you don't owe them your stability. Sometimes walking away ain't quitting, it's graduating. The woman who stays to prove her loyalty ends up losing her identity. The woman who walks away learns the truth. Love ain't supposed to cost you your sanity. Tasha didn't have nothing left to prove. The test was over, and the only thing left to do was reclaim her life. Baby, when a woman leaves, it don't start with the suitcase. It starts in the silence. That quiet moment where she sits in her own house and realizes she ain't home no more. Her body's there. Her things are there, but her spirit already packed weeks ago. That's where Tasha was. It was early spring when it happened. One of those cool mornings where the sunlight creeps through the blinds, trying to convince you that life might still be kind. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, holding a cup of coffee gone cold, staring at the same man she'd once dreamed a whole future with. Marcus was sleeping in as usual. She looked at him and thought about every bill she'd paid, every tear she'd hidden, every time she'd said, "It's okay, baby," when it really wasn't. And that morning, she didn't feel angry. She just felt done. She got up, pulled her hair back, and started moving through the apartment like she was walking through the memory of her old self. Folded her clothes into a small duffel, not everything, just what she needed to start over. Marcus woke up while she was by the door. He rubbed his eyes and said, "Where you going?" She said, "Somewhere peaceful." He sat up, confused. "You leaving me?" Tasha didn't yell, didn't explain, just looked at him, steady, soft, but final. "No, Marcus, I'm just stopping the part of me that keeps carrying what you won't." He started pleading, said he'd change, said he'd prove himself, but his words were tired, the kind you've already heard too many times to believe anymore. She told him, "I don't hate you, Marcus, but I can't keep drowning just 'cause you won't learn to swim." And with that, she walked out. No big scene, no dramatic slam of the door, just the soft sound of her freedom whispering finally. In the weeks that followed, it wasn't easy. She cried. Oh, she cried plenty. Every night that bed felt too big, that silence too loud. She missed the routine, even the arguments. That's what people don't get. When you walk away from dysfunction, you still grieve the familiar. But grief is just love with nowhere to go. And one day, she decided to give that love back to herself. She found a smaller place, started freelancing again, called up some old friends she'd been too ashamed to talk to. Kiera helped her move in, brought a plant and said, "So it feels like life again." And baby, for the first time in years, the air felt light. She got her first full night's sleep a week later, said it felt strange at first, like her body didn't trust peace yet. But over time, peace started trusting her back. Months passed. Marcus called, of course. They always do. Said he'd been thinking, said he was getting better, wanted another chance. Tasha listened, calm and quiet, but she didn't step back into that old storm. She told him, "I hope you do grow, Marcus. I really do. But my healing don't come with re-entry." Now, baby, I almost shouted when she told me that, 'cause that's the sound of a healed woman speaking. Now listen, sweet one, this part's for you. Sometimes you got to stop trying to save the person who's dragging you under. You can pray for him from the shore, but baby, don't you drown trying to prove your loyalty. Love ain't supposed to hurt every day. It ain't supposed to make you question your worth. Real love builds you. It don't build you. And when you finally walk away, it won't feel like triumph right away. It'll feel empty. But emptiness ain't a curse. It's room. Room for healing. Room for new beginnings. Room for you. So if you're listening to this and you feel that tug in your spirit, that quiet voice saying, "I'm tired," don't ignore it. That's not weakness talking. That's wisdom waking up. Tasha walked away so she could finally walk toward herself. And baby, when you start walking in your truth, even the ground beneath you starts saying, "Welcome home."
Baby, sit back a minute. Now that you done heard Tasha's story, really heard it, I need you to breathe. 'Cause what I'm about to say might sting a little, but it's the kind of sting that cleans a wound. See, Tasha didn't marry a bad man. She married a broken one. A man who still thought like a child in a grown man's shoes. And I don't say that to shame him. I say it 'cause a lot of folks are walking around carrying childhood in adult bodies. Marcus was one of them. He wanted the title of man, but not the weight that came with it. He wanted to lead, but not labor. To dream, but not discipline. And when that kind of man finds a woman like Tasha, strong, steady, responsible, he sees her not as a partner, but as a parent he can sleep with. Now, baby, I need you to let that sink in, 'cause too many women out here mistaking caretaking for love. Lesson 1. Love ain't supposed to feel like parenting. If you're constantly teaching him how to handle money, how to tell the truth, how to show up, you're not in love, baby. You're in remedial school. And I know your heart means well. You think, if I just guide him right, he'll grow. But guidance only works on somebody who wants to grow. Marcus didn't want to grow. He wanted comfort. And comfort, when it's not earned, becomes entitlement. Tasha loved him into dependency. And that's the danger of a generous heart without boundaries. You'll feed a man till he forgets how to cook for himself. Lesson 2. Forgiveness don't mean forgetting the pattern. Tasha forgave that man more times than she could count. And each time, he learned one lesson, not how to change, but how much she'd tolerate. Baby, listen, forgiveness is sacred, but it ain't strategy. You can forgive somebody and still decide they don't get to sit at your table no more. Forgiveness is internal. It's about peace. Reconciliation, that's earned. If someone keeps breaking your trust, that's not an accident. That's a rhythm. And you can't heal in a place where the pain keeps rehearsing. Lesson 3. Financial irresponsibility is emotional irresponsibility. Now let's talk about money, because that's where this story started. People think money problems are about dollars. Baby, they're about discipline. They show how a person thinks, how they respect what's shared, how they handle consequences. Marcus spent like his future didn't matter, because deep down, he didn't believe he could build one. And Tasha tried to compensate, but you can't budget insecurity. You can't save someone who keeps spending trust like it's monopoly money. So the next time somebody tells you it's just money, you remember this. Money is just a mirror for responsibility. And if they're careless with their wallet, baby, they'll be careless with your heart too. Lesson 4. Silence is a form of agreement. Every time Tasha stayed quiet, she taught him what she'd tolerate. And silence, when repeated, becomes permission. You can love a man and still hold him accountable. You can be soft and still have standards. That's what balance looks like. Firmness with kindness, grace with boundaries. If you gotta go mute to keep the peace, that ain't peace. That's suppression. And suppressed women don't stay quiet forever. They either explode or disappear. Tasha disappeared, not out of weakness, but out of survival. Now, baby, hear this with your whole heart. When Tasha walked away, she didn't break her vows. She honored herself. See, God never asked you to sacrifice your sanity in the name of love. He said love your neighbor as yourself, not instead of yourself. Some folks use faith as an excuse to stay stuck. But true faith says, I trust God enough to step into the unknown, even if it means letting go of what's familiar. And that's what Tasha did. She let go. And in that space, she found freedom. Lesson 6. Healing ain't pretty, but it's worth it. After she left, baby, the healing was messy. There were nights she almost called him, days she doubted herself. But every time she chose not to go back, she was building a new muscle, one called self-respect. Healing don't look like glow-ups and soft music. It looks like crying on your kitchen floor one night and paying your bills on time the next. It looks like remembering who you are when nobody's clapping for you. And little by little, peace stopped feeling like a stranger. It started feeling like home. Lesson 7. Love should add, not subtract. Let me say this plain. Love should add to your joy, not subtract from your worth. A good partner don't just hold your hand. They hold their weight. They meet you in the middle, not at the edge of your breakdown. Love should feel like rest, baby, not like work you don't get paid for. It should make your nervous system relax, not keep it on high alert. If you constantly gotta explain, beg, remind, fix, that's not love. That's management. And you ain't nobody's manager. Now, baby, if you take nothing else from Miss Ruby tonight, take this. You deserve a love that feeds you, not one that starves you slow. You deserve consistency, not chaos. Accountability, not apologies. Partnership, not parenting. And if you find yourself carrying somebody who won't carry you back, put them down, gently but firmly, and walk away with grace. You ain't cold for protecting your peace. You ain't heartless for choosing yourself. You just finally learned what love is supposed to feel like. So go on, baby. Take your lessons. Live softer. Love wiser. And don't you ever mistake potential for partnership. Because like I always say, if love don't make you feel safe, it ain't love. It's a lesson. I see you.